You know, in the grand story of humanity, we have countless tales of gods and monsters, of good versus evil. But what about the story of the end itself? Today, we're not talking about some epic battle, but about the one final truth that every single one of us shares. We're going to explore the parable of a gatekeeper, a spirit who stands right between our world and whatever comes next.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. Across every culture, every continent, every single moment in history, what is the one universal certainty? What is it that binds the billionaire to the beggar, the saint to the sinner?
It's the one appointment we all have to keep, right? Now, while a lot of cultures see it as this silent, formless void, the rich tradition of Haitian Vodou, well, it dares to give it a name, a personality, and believe it or not, even a sharp sense of humor. So let's meet Baron Samedi.
Our journey begins, as it must, right at the cemetery gate, that threshold between the living and the dead. And it's here that we meet its master, Baron Samedi. You could say he's the answer to that profound silence, a character born from the need to give a voice to the inevitable.
His power is, well, absolute. The Baron has the final say. No soul gets to pass into the afterlife without his express permission. He's the guardian of the ancestors, making sure the dead stay at peace, and he's the very first to greet the newly departed. But get this, he doesn't cause death, he just oversees its passage.
His whole appearance is a message, like a living, breathing memento mori. He's dressed for a funeral, maybe even your own, and his skeletal face obviously embodies the grave. But the cigar, the rum, and that notoriously crude humor? Those are all reminders of life's pleasures, the very things that death claims. He's terrifying and somehow powerfully charismatic all at once.
And this right here, this is his most profound role. I mean, for a people whose lives were shaped by the brutality and the deep, deep inequality of slave colonies, the Baron represents this radical form of justice. In front of him, the master's wealth, his power, his status, it all means absolutely nothing. He is the ultimate equalizer, the one force that makes every single soul the same.
But look, to really get the Baron, we have to understand the world he comes from. He isn't some lone figure just floating out there. He's part of a really complex and resilient spiritual system that has its own deep history and its own internal logic.
Vodou isn't some ancient, unchanging religion. No, it's a story of survival. It was forged back in the 18th century by enslaved peoples who fused their diverse African beliefs with the Catholicism of their oppressors. It was a brilliant way to preserve their heritage, create a community, and find some spiritual power in a world that denied them their basic humanity.
So, how does this whole spiritual world actually work? Well, it's all about the Loa. You should think of them not as these distant, untouchable gods, but as powerful, active spirits. They're the go-betweens, the intermediaries between people and the Creator. And each Loa has a totally distinct personality, its own desires, its own domain, and they are deeply involved in the day-to-day lives of the people who serve them.
Now, within this big spiritual family, there's one group that governs the most fundamental parts of our existence, the GD. They're the spirits of the dead, but also, and here's the paradox, of life, of sex, of fertility. And who's leading them all? Baron Samedi. He completely embodies their core paradox, that the grave is both an end and a new beginning.
Yeah, the Baron isn't just one thing. He's more like a prism, reflecting our different needs when we face death. You've got Baron Lacroix, who's this stoic archivist holding the cold wisdom of history. And then there's Baron Criminel, the fiery enforcer you call on when you need swift and sometimes brutal justice. This kind of sophistication just shows a spiritual system that has an answer for every crisis.
Okay, so what does a spirit like Baron Samedi actually teach us? Through him and the Gede, Vodou offers a really profound philosophy, not just for how to die, but for how to live.
That connection is made real, tangible through ritual. Devotees don't just, pray from a distance, they engage. They offer the Baron things he actually enjoys. Strong, unsweetened coffee, rum infused with hot peppers, good cigars. These aren't just random items. They're offerings designed to attune the practitioner to the Baron's specific energy, potent, raw, and totally unfiltered. And then there's the ceremony itself. During Fête Carré, the Festival of the Dead, the music and dance become what the source material calls a sacred technology. It's literally a tool for breaking down the walls between worlds. It's a way to process grief, not with quiet sorrow, but with ecstatic, cathartic movement. It's life shouting back at the silence of the grave.
And this is the core of the Gede philosophy.
It's this beautiful, powerful contradiction. On one hand, they are obscene, hilarious, chaotic. They mock society's rules and celebrate life's rawest pleasures. But at the same time, they are the solemn guardians of the dead, the ultimate upholders of moral order. In them, we really see our own duality reflected back at us.
So, the crucial point is this. The Gaia teach that the best response to our own mortality isn't fear. It's defiance. It's about living so fully, so joyfully, that death starts to lose its sting. By laughing and celebrating life, even standing in the shadow of the cemetery, you are taking part in a profound act of spiritual resistance.
So what does this all add up to? What's the moral of this particular parable? Well, the lore of Baron Samedi offers a truly radical reframing of our relationship with our own mortality. See, the parable of Baron Samedi isn't just some spooky story. It's a sophisticated guide to the human condition. It teaches us that our journey is really built on 3 pillars: remembering those who came before us, upholding justice in our communities, and, above all else, celebrating the vibrant, chaotic, and precious gift of life itself. And this, right here, is the Baron's greatest gift. He takes the ultimate unknown, that terrifying, silent void we all dread, and he gives it a voice. Through him, death is transformed from an enemy to be feared into a rowdy, wise, and protective ancestor, reminding us that as long as we are remembered, we are never, ever truly gone.